Alright, welcome back to Only Divergences. Here we focus only on technical analysis and more importantly those beautiful divergent patterns which can produce massive returns. So before we start, as always, a big thank you for watching this video, liking this video, and subscribing to my YouTube channel when you click that little red subscribe button below. I'm going to be here with you as we navigate these markets, so let's get to it. Today is Thursday, September 23rd, 2021. Markets are closed. It's 5:26 right now, and we are taking a look at Lucid Motors, or Lucid Group, ticker symbol LCID. It trades on the NASDAQ, and this was a request from a subscriber, a new subscriber, Mr. Ed Tom 1. And I want to thank you for putting me onto this stock, because this has been a stock that I removed from my watch list after the big collapse, because I figured that there wouldn't be any real potential in the stock for a long time. Well, now it looks like we're starting to see a little bit more real potential in this stock, so we want to take a bit of a closer look. As always, we start off on the weekly, and what can we say about the weekly? Well, we can't say much because the stock hasn't been stock's only been trading for about a year, less than a year. Materially, we had the big move higher, huge collapse, and it's been trading sideways for a long time. Can't really say much on the weekly, so let's just go right into the daily. Okay, so there's a number of things that we want to point out here. We can see that the stock had a huge run up, exploded higher, and then collapsed, and has been trading sideways ever since. This can be seen as a very large base. So we all know the expression, the bigger the base, the higher the space. So with Lucid Motors here, one of two things are really going to happen. Either the company is going to go bankrupt and stock is going to go down here, or the company is going to break out of this base and likely test the previous high up at 65. Now, if you are owning this stock, or if you're really into this stock, you can do your fundamentals and determine if the company is going to go bankrupt or not. I actually don't need to do that, and the reason why is because I use technicals, and I can tell that the market is already telling me that this company is not going to go bankrupt. How can I see that? Well, after a long period of very low volume, you can see this is the volume bars, weeks and months and months and months of low volume, we started to get a big uptick in volume here. Okay, and usually what that means is that the market is waking up and is realizing that there's potential here at Lucid. And so both of those things put together tell me that there's a very big possibility that as soon as we break out above this $30 level, which has been kind of resistance for a long time, we can move a lot higher. How high? Well, we have to take a look at a number of reasonable objective technical targets. The first here being around $44, which is the top of the gap, here at 50, which is the bottom of the gap, or 65, which is the all-time high. Aside from that, we can take a look at the technicals a little closer, particularly the MACD. We can see that the MACD was negative for some time, came down, made a low here. You can see this elevated red, came up, consolidated a little bit, formed what could be a divergence, but you can't really see it on this time frame. We'll take a look at the hourly, and then moved a lot higher. So where are we right now? Well, we're waiting. We're waiting for the right technical setup for this stock to move higher. Luckily, we do have some precedent that's recent. So you can see that this move down for a low, and then coming up, consolidating, and then popping higher, we have a history of that, and it's right here. The stock previously had come down, formed a little bounce, popped higher, and unfortunately it pulled back before moving higher. So what does that tell me? Well, it's very parallel to what we're seeing right now. The stock had a low, popped up, consolidated, popped up, and pulled back. We have already had the pullback day. Now we've had the second sort of consolidation day. And I would think or expect that we would have something similar to this. Even the MACD is similar. We have positive histogram here on the MACD, similar to this. And even the DMI here, down here with the elevated red, is similar to this, although this one's a little more spiky here. You can see this move was a lot faster. So then, what can we reasonably expect moving forward? Well, there is a very real possibility that we will have a bit of a pullback here. But then at the same time, there's also the possibility if we can hold here, it could move higher. And notice that the high here was, well, let me just put that another way. The high here, which was the subsequent high, was higher than the previous high. So we should expect something similar, but as somebody who only looks to go long, right now isn't the most optimal time to do so. I would like to see, if I'm going to be going long for a number of days, I want to see at least a little bit of negative histogram here, a little bit of the red before I want to go long, because that's where you want to start accumulating for it to go higher. And right now we're right here, we're right in the middle. So on a daily time frame, I don't think that this is a place where you want to start accumulating. I think this is a place where everybody who bought in here is looking either to take profits or wait to consolidate. For months and months, we've had sellers step in at this level, and I think we'll continue to see that. In fact, we have continued to see that, and we will continue to see that until we don't. And when is the we don't? Well, it's when we get a bullish pattern that allows us to break out above this level, therefore validating every single person who bought the stock down here. Everybody who bought the stock over the past year would be green, and that's really what we want to see, because once we see that with the right technical setup, we could see much, much higher prices. Now let's take a look at the hourly time frame. Let's see extended hours. Let's do the non-extended hours first. So we can see the bullish divergence that took place over the last, since the 14th, a lot clearer on the hourly time frame. I'm just going to get rid of the average true range here, and maybe also the stochastic. No, I'm going to keep the stochastic here because it's important. But what we want to point out is really just one thing. The fact that we had bullish divergence. We had a low here on the MACD and a price low, and then we had a subsequent low that where price was high. I mean, you could say price was higher. This was a gap reversal, so let's use this area here as price, but that's still price is higher. But what matters more is that momentum was higher. So at this point, momentum was shifting, right? So you could expect this type of a move here. I've said this 1,000 times in my videos, and it happens in Lucid, it happens in Palantir, it happens in Robinhood, it happens in every single stock. So where are we now? Well, on the hourly, we cannot say clearly that we have the strongest bullish setup potential. Could the stock move here? Absolutely. I think this is not a reasonable area. Let me draw a little bit of a box maybe. Anything here. I tried to draw a box and I really couldn't with this platform, so all I'll say is that anything in this general area is fair game. But remember, we compared the current move to the previous move, right, which was this one. We can see this divergence similar to this one in this one back here. We have a low, we have a subsequent higher low. You can see it moved higher, and then what you want in those instances is you want to find an even higher low, right? And that's what we got. Let me just zoom in a little better. This is actually very similar to the Robinhood move that we were discussing yesterday. You can watch that video by clicking this link up here. So you had a low, a higher low, and at this point you're looking to buy on negative histogram for higher low. So here's the thing, right? Whenever you are in a situation like this little red thing here, that's the buy signal, right? And so you could have bought here and held, and you would have been in green right away. It pulled back a little bit, but look, you get another buy signal, and it moves higher. And then it comes down, you get another buy signal, and it moves higher. And the thing is, it has to be in the context of the already established bullish divergence. You don't want to be buying a red negative histogram here, right? Because it's just going to continue lower. You want at least the bullish divergence, so we can even see it here, right? Price, price, low, higher low. It's clockwork, basically, okay? So what does that tell us? Well, if we're going to use perfect analogs, which I don't like perfect analogs because you never get a perfect analog, but just for the sake of this experiment, we had the move higher, and then it pulled back down here, and it came like this. Well, we had the move higher, and it pulled back, and I would argue that we should expect some sort of consolidation here. So that's the bad news. The good news is that we can also expect the potential for a bullish divergence, similar to what we saw here, once we get the MACD to come down here. Now, this is a falsifiable hypothesis, and if we get a move that changes this pattern materially from the analog that we have here, then we know that we're not going to have the bullish divergence. But we could have the bullish divergence, And so that's what I'm going to be tracking for the next week. So right now, we don't have that perfect buy signal that we're looking for. But if we get the bullish divergence in the next week or so, one is you want to look at that as a potential buy signal for a move like this. But given the context that we outlined earlier, in technical analysis, if we get that sort of a move, we have to be open to the possibility that that sort of a move will not just result in a bounce to the previous high, but a bounce through it. And at that point, what will happen is you'll have buyers stepping in, and at that point, really, the sky's the limit. So we're not there yet. We don't have the perfect buy signal yet. The risk to reward probabilities are not optimal yet, but with every day that passes, we're getting closer and closer to that potential where we could see very, very high gains in this stock. So I'll leave it at that for now. As always, thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. And I'll be updating this possibly in a week's time when I think that we could have better near-term buy signals, but also longer-term buy signals. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you later.